provider of broadcast and interactive web weather solutions for media companies in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. Weather Central has more than 400 broadcast television clients in 21 countries worldwide. It provides weather forecasts to millions of users daily by distributing real-time forecasts, interactive maps, and storm warnings based on each user's exact address. Why would the Rothschild be so interested in owning the largest and most recognized weather modeling organization out there? Why would the Rothschild wish to have the controlling interest in the world's leading provider of interactive weather graphics and data services for television, web, and mobile? Because when you are involved in climate-decimating geoengineering programs, you must also control the forecast models to cover your tracks. The Rothschild control not only central banking all over the world and United Nations IMF, International Monetary Funds, World Bank, but now the weather. The scope and scale of the global spraying of our skies can hardly be comprehended. SAG, stratospheric aerosol geoengineering, and SRM, solar radiation management. The massive web of supporting structures for these programs is mind-bending. What is even more difficult to understand is how all of this happens in plain sight, and almost none seem to connect the dots. Defense contractor Raytheon does all the forecast modeling for the National Weather Service and NOAA. Lockheed Martin does the modeling for the FAA, since both of these private defense contractors are up to their necks in weather modification patents and programs. The forecasts are more or less the scheduled weather. Now, with the Rothschild acquisition of the dominant private modeling organization, the control of weather modeling seems complete.
We can control our weather.
This control of forecasts and graphics provides for the constant visual conditioning that makes the population more likely to accept the constant spraying and manipulation of our weather as normal. When the nightly weather forecast animation matches what the public sees in the sky, right down to the upper-level haze or overcast from the constant spraying, all seems to correlate, so nothing more is questioned. When the forecasters predict a hurricane will make an unprecedented 90-degree turn, and it does, nothing seems wrong. On April 28, 1997, U.S. Defense Secretary William Cohen made the following statement. According to the DoD, others terrorists are engaging even in an eco-type of terrorism whereby they can alter the climate, set off earthquakes, volcanoes remotely through the use of electromagnetic waves. So there are plenty of ingenious minds out there that are at work finding ways in which they can wreak terror upon other nations. It's real, and that's the reason why we have to intensify our counter-terrorism efforts. What Cohen was alluding to at the time would only become known several years later in declassified documents. Geoengineering. The quote, although it seems out of place in time, exposes government's interest in a whole new type of weapon modifying the natural weather to cause catastrophic damage and loss of life to enemies of the United States through electromagnetic waves.
The fact is, we are dealing with microwave weapon technology. How else would this tree catch on fire from the inside?
A haunting but mesmerizing scene from the wildfires in Sonoma County. A man came across this tree burning from the inside out. Matthew McDermott was driving around looking for escape routes as multiple fires closed in on the area he was in. The tree appears to be hollowed out by embers and flame.
Bark and the heartwood of the tree are two different densities, and the cylindrical shape makes it so that when the microwave energy or any X-ray or any electromagnetic frequencies, there's a unique dual density bilayer of cylindrical shape of the tree, so that when the electromagnetic energy goes into the tree, it ricochets instead of going straight through. It ricochets, and then the energy ricochets on the interior of the heartwood. And what happens is that heats up the interior, especially with microwaves. This is why, like, if you look around your cell phone towers, and you see that there's a lot of branches or a lot of trees that have like a saggy bark. I call it like a saggy, like a sock effect. Their bark is kind of like shrunken. A lot of the trees, you'll see the bark is just kind of shedding off the trees. That's what happened when we went from 3G to 4G. The higher intensity of the electromagnetic energy that was being pummeled through the trees on the periphery of the tree cluster what it did was it accelerates the dehydration in the tree, because the microwave frequency enters into that tree and ricochets instead of going through. That's why you can't take an X-ray of a tree, because the X-rays don't go through the tree. They ricochet on the interior of the tree, which is why this is so significant. The way these fires burned, it's through some sort of an electromagnetic energy that they're pumping through. That's why this tree did not combust on the outside, because that's just how trees work. You can't get electromagnetic energy to go pass through a tree. So that would make 100%. That would make 100% explanation for why this tree is burning on the inside. Something with a great electromagnetic force.
A directed energy weapon, DO, is a ranged weapon system that inflicts damage at a target by emission of highly focused energy. Potential applications of this technology include anti-personnel weapon systems, missile defense system, and the disabling of lightly armored vehicles or mounted optical devices. The Pentagon, DARPA, the Air Force Research Laboratory, United States Army Armament Research, Development and Engineering Center and the Naval Research Laboratory have been researching and testing technologies like directed energy weapons for many decades.
How did they create a laser with such devastating force? By assembling an array of 192 lasers and aiming them at a single hydrogen pellet the size of a BB. These 192 lasers are linked together by a twisting jungle of tubes that snake through this mammoth 10-story structure, which is the length of 3 football fields. The plan is to fire all 192 laser beams at once. Each beam starts out low-powered, about the size of what's inside your DVD player. But as they pass through the complex maze of tubes, they merge into one super beam. This super beam fires 500 terawatts of power in 2 billionths of a second, roughly 500 times the entire peak power output of the United States. When that light strikes the hydrogen pellet, it cooks it to over 800 million degrees.
But lasers formerly known as directed energy weapons have been used by the U.S. Army's ground forces for years. But now, the Pentagon's Air Force Research Lab, AFRL, wants to take the next step and give these seemingly futuristic weapons a set of wings. As announced earlier this week, Lockheed Martin was awarded the contract as part of AFRL's Self-Protect High Energy Laser Demonstrator, SHIELD, program.
There are a number of forms of directed energy weapons, including microwave weapons, laser weapons, particle beam weapons, sonic weapons. Nikola Tesla was first to demonstrate the world what scalar waves are. In about 1908 Tesla discovered that scalar energy, this can then be used to produce earthquakes induced at distant aiming points. He noted that this could easily get out of control once it begins vibrating within the Earth and could actually cause the Earth to vibrate to pieces. His own head proved so powerful that during its testing phase he destroyed it with a sledgehammer to keep its vibrations from destroying his entire neighborhood. In his famous Colorado Springs experiment 1899, where he sent electric energy through the air without cables to light bulbs at a distance of 30 miles, the electricity was sent quicker than light and the bulbs received more energy than Tesla had sent away. Over unity effect, because the transport vehicle for the electric energy, an electric scalar wave, sucked free energy from the surrounding nature, free neutrino power, during its voyage. Nikola Tesla detected the electric scalar wave, which is linked to free energy. Neutrinos, which often are quicker than the speed of light, are an aspect of scalar waves, and can be harvested for free. Scalar waves are produced when two electromagnetic waves of the same frequency are exactly out of phase. It does seem that directed energy, laser, weapons as known as Tesla's death ray are being used for defense industry and military experiments, and to create the state of emergency, and for changing the zoning for housing development, also to depopulate biodiversity corridors designated by the United Nations Agenda 21 and 30. Geoterrorism is not just a way of softening up the populace for Agenda 21, it also provides an opportunity for the geoengineers to test their new weather weaponry and other warfare technologies. Not only can they determine the efficacy of their advanced satellite-based weapons, they can evaluate how the people will react to the celestial assaults.
Area over here, Santa Rosa evacuation area. Here's the identical map of where they want to rezone everything. And if we scroll down, here's all the properties, and you see conditional use, design review major, and here we go again. Here's the same roads: Piner, Guerneville, West College Avenue, and this is the pending development on the other side of the freeway. Same exact stuff: College, Pacific, Fulton. Right where they want to redesign everything with design reviews. Oh, how conveniently a middle of the night, out of nowhere fire with 2,000 degrees plus temperature Fahrenheit. Look at this map. This is on the east side. This is Hone Avenue, Yalupa. Again, it's just a coincidence, folks. Coincidence theory. This is the area, Yalupa down in here, part of the evacuation area. How convenient that the redevelopment area coincides perfectly with the Santa Rosa development plan. Sebastopol Road, Stony Point Road, all in the evacuation sites. You cannot make this stuff up. This was planned, organized well in advance. Geoterrorism, folks.
A coincidence theory with all the zoning changes happening at lightning speed. There is a group of California standing up for their rights. Constitutionally, it fits in perfectly with the new zoning ordinances that have been voted on by unelected boards. This is how geoterrorism is especially utilized to scare the people away from certain areas that have been identified as special according to the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. There's been plans for decades now to create megacity centers with smart grid technology, strategic relocation, wanting everyone in the megacity, and this is how they get the people in countryside into the megacities. It is a UN agenda moving right on schedule pretty much everywhere as the UN program.
According to the UN website, again, sustainable development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. Well, don't we have to be kind of a prediction king to be able to do that? Let me translate. They want to evaluate and approve and reject anything and everything you do in order to make sure it's for the good of future generations. In other words, doesn't matter what the individual wants to do as long as it's good for the collective.
Replacement migration has been the main cause of the Europe's migration crisis. Like the World Trade Center, the incinerated lots of houses in California are quickly getting cleaned up for covering up the evidence that massive crimes have been committed, instead of giving full investigations to what caused the extremely suspicious and natural fire damages and exhaustive yet mysteriously selective destructions, which defies the laws of physics. We must spread the awareness of what is happening, especially with the California's so-called wildfires, the fake natural disaster, most likely done by the new technology-directed energy laser weapons by U.S. Air Force and defense industry to test and demonstrate the destructive abilities for the defense industry's demands. And we should demand the investigation. They incinerated hundreds of thousands of acres and obliterated thousands of innocent people's homes and businesses, as they wholeheartedly pulled the 9/11 inside job in 2001 as the Operation Northwoods plan set a precedent. It is up to us to wake up the New World Order and UN agendas and be the change. We will never stop fighting for the truth and justice.
We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect.